All righty. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Liberated Prosperity. It's wonderful to see all of your faces. If you don't have your camera on, it'd be great to see you. If you don't feel like it and it's Saturday morning, you just want to be behind the scenes, that's fine too. But it's always great to see everybody's faces. And it's wonderful to be here to be joined with all of you today. I'm very excited for today's masterclass and really diving into a body of work and some teachings that I think are really going to support you in a really big way to help you shift maybe some of the stories, some of the beliefs, some of the judgments, some of the attachments you might have as it pertains to the topic of prosperity. And we'll dive even deeper into the topic of money, which I know that's why a lot of you are here. And it's something that is worthy of a deep and profound conversation. So if you guys haven't done so in the chat, put where you're tuning in from, what's your intention for being here. I love to see all of you. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I see some people that I have not seen yet on any of my calls. It's great to welcome all of you that are here for the first time, and for those of you that have joined me time and time again. So we have South Africa, we have the UK. Wow, amazing. Ileana, it's great to see you. New York City, Chicago. We got Texas, Utah. Wow. Massachusetts, Florida, Australia, Austin, Michigan, St. Andrews, Ontario, Houston, UK, Texas. Here to reset. I love it. Beautiful, guys. Pittsburgh. Wonderful. People from all over the place. I love seeing that. And I'm tuning in from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, at my home in the beautiful countryside. I was a little nervous about this class because my internet was out literally all day yesterday, and it just came back about 40 minutes before this call started. So we know we're in the right place, and we know it's meant to happen if the internet is on and working. So we'll send a prayer that it stays on for the rest of this call. And Ileana, my intention is to finally liberate myself from scarcity and poverty. Oh, beautiful. Looking forward to reset and increase my prosperity and abundance. Beautiful. Love that, Viviana. Eston, here to get more insight on my money blockages. Beautiful. Yeah, so there's a lot. Let's see. Love SMA, to live in Querétaro. Beautiful, Stephanie. Yeah, it's beautiful here. Amy, expansion. Yes, expansion. Don't we want more expansion? Beautiful, guys. So keep it going in the chat. I'll monitor that. And before we get into the actual class itself, just introduce myself. Again, some of you are new here. Some of you already know me and have been to many of my classes, programs, courses, wherever you found me. It's great to see you all. My name is Christopher August. I'm a transformation guide, and I'm the co-founder at Beats and Breath. And really, my core intention, like beyond all of the things that I do, it's really to create a more conscious and connected world, one breath at a time. And the breath is the key, it's the foundation to it all. And there's tools on top of that, which of some I'm going to teach you today to support you in your awakening, in your expansion, in helping you really truly embody your true self, your greatness, your limitless potential. And, these are words that are thrown out a lot, but what does it really mean, right? Like, there's a lot of people talking about the subject of prosperity and abundance, and there's a lot of really good marketing out there, right? That pulls us in because we want to know more. We want to know what's blocking us from experiencing greater prosperity, more money, more abundance in all aspects of our life. But really at the end of the day, I like to keep things very practical and simple, right? Because there's 10 steps here, 15 steps here, do this, do that, take this course, take this workshop, do all of these things. But it's like, okay, first, we need to get back down to basics because we have created this information overload within our minds and our nervous systems that really, truly begins to convolute our way of living. It creates a distortion within us. And so this isn't really about adding more, right? Like I'm going to share with you a couple things today, some tools. One in which we'll work with being the gene keys, which I have found to be the most direct possible way to unlocking that prosperity, that abundance that already exists within you. And I'm going to tell you a couple stories today that may support you in helping you understand why I feel this body of work is so important. So, and one of those stories, I'll start with you now because it's really worthy. Before I get into the slides, I'll open up some slides and we'll dive deeper into um, again this material, and we're going to break it down step by step. So by the end of this class, ideally you will have a comprehensive overview, a comprehensive understanding on how to truly prosper in your life, right? Like I am a big believer of giving value. Like I don't just do these things to be like, hey, come and now buy this course. Yeah, I'm going to offer you an opportunity to go deeper into the Pearl sequence, into the gene keys later on. But my goal is that even if you don't do anything else at the end of this course, you still have value and you leave with value in ways in which you can apply what I'm going to share with you today to your life. But again, for me, I was, for many, many years, really entrenched into this shadow of struggle, which happens to be my life's work. And if you guys don't know anything about the Gene Keys, don't worry. I'm going to give you a quick overview later on. Some of you have already been in some of my programs and courses, so you already get it. You've already been around this work, but you don't have to know anything going into this. So, I, for many years, was entrenched in the shadow of struggle. And, that shadow is like literally hunted me on every single level and have gone through many different dark nights of the soul as it pertains to my work, as it pertains to my relationships, as it pertains to my finances, to all aspects of my life. And, I have found myself really in a dark place many times over and over and over again. And specifically through my 20s, through my early 30s, and not really understanding why I just can't break free from this dark looming cloud that is over me, that is around my finances, around my relationships, and so forth. It wasn't until I discovered this system of the gene keys that I began to understand why exactly I chose what I chose, right? Because the belief here is that I am a soul. We are all souls that incarnated onto this earth that chose certain imprints and experiences to have in order for us to grow and evolve. That's a baseline. And so when I began to unlock some of these keys to really understand where I was holding myself back, because this is imprinted deep within my genetic code, within my DNA, I began to break free from those boxes, from that aspect in which I was in a place of self-imprisonment. And, I found myself just speaking from the money angle, in over $100,000 of debt, student loans, credit cards, all of these things, spending money like crazy, money that I didn't really have. And I was pretty irresponsible. And over these past couple years, like I've had more the outpicturing of prosperity and abundance in my life than ever before. And it's been a completely different shift because I've shifted internally within my own nervous system and healed parts of myself that were at play, that were creating these loops and these cycles. Now, I am by far not a multimillionaire. I'm not a billionaire, but that is not the point, right? We strive for these external things such as money, and we want lots of it to feel secure within ourselves. And it's okay to have lots of it. I am not saying that. I am not one of those spiritual people that says it's not okay to have money, but it is okay to have money. It is okay to prosper in every single aspect of your life. The thing is though, is that we can't do so from a restricted and constricted state. And as you'll see today, as I dive into more of this story and break this down, as I dive into these different pieces that we have to share here, you'll see that prosperity, and I'm going to really help you redefine what prosperity is because you may have one concept in your mind of what prosperity is, but I'm going to break that apart and I'm going to make this as simple as possible. And therefore, we don't have to make life so hard. That to be prosperous, to be a abundant, prosperous individual doesn't have to be a struggle. That's not what this is about. This is about ease. This is about flow. This is about receptivity. This is about your core energetics within. And I'm going to show you exactly what is blocking you from experiencing greater prosperity. Now, you might think that it's one thing. It might be that story you keep telling yourself. It might be that belief you keep telling yourself. And yes, those are things that will hold us back inevitably, 100%. And we'll cover some of those. But deeply embedded within your DNA is a core wound. And that core wound is responsible for either undermining your prosperity, or it is responsible for helping you tap fully in and activate that prosperity code within you. So it could do one of two things. In its shadow state, it can undermine you. In its gift state, it can help you expand on every single level. So I'm going to share that with you as well. So with that being said, I would love to hear from you in the chat. What does prosperity mean to you? Let's start there. Let's start at that base level. What does prosperity mean to you? And then I'm going to open my slides and I'm going to share with you my definition of prosperity. But in the chat, what does prosperity mean to you? Keon, freedom. Yep. Boom. Thriving, freedom, inner bliss, to flourish, being abundant. What else you guys got? Clear energy flow. Love that, Linda. Abundance. My needs and those of my family are covered. Freedom, happiness, abundance in all areas, health, finances, friendships, family, overall sense of balance, feeling like you have everything you need and not wanting more, thriving, choosing my heart over ego. It means being in a flow state, magic, beauty, and freedom, having and attracting what I need and want, abundance and balance in all areas. Yes, self-love, healthy relationships. Love this. You guys get it. Fulfilling higher purpose. You guys get it. I love this. Keep sharing. So we're going to make this an interactive class. I'm going to be asking you guys some more questions here because I really want this. When we get to some engagement here, we get to really put all of the puzzle pieces together to really create a clear picture and a roadmap for you moving forward. So I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to get into this. Let's see. Here we go. All right, guys. So, welcome to this presentation. I'm going to see a few more here in the chat. I got alignment with my higher purpose, no struggle or anxiety. Yes, I love this. Thank you, Juana. Okay, so what you're going to learn, the difference between prosperity and wealth, what is the Gene Keys Pearl sequence and how to use it to live your most abundant life. What is your specific core wound that is undermining your finances, relationships, and creativity? What is your greatest gift and how can you share it? And how you're designed to use and steward money. So these are the core principles in which we're going to cover today through this masterclass. And like I said, by the end, ideally, you're going to have a very clear picture about how you can now go out into the world and be your most prosperous and abundant self. Okay, so again, this is a very short definition, but this is what I've come up with alongside the Gene Keys. A state of thriving and flourishing in health, finances, relationships, vocation, and beyond. Prosperity is our birthright and natural state as life in itself is prosperous. When we are anchored in our prosperity, we see and live from a place of inner clarity and fulfillment in which we are attuned to our unique gifts, living our higher purpose, and serving the world with an open heart. So, really take this definition in. This is the all-encompassing energy of prosperity and what it means to prosper. Yet, oftentimes when we think about this topic, we have a very limited point of view where we just think about the money aspect, which again, we're going to get into because it's a very important topic to cover, but I want to cover it and really illuminate it from a completely different angle. So, one thing to mention here is, and one thing that I think we often forget is that by being who we are, just being human, we are prosperous. We are prosperous just by being ourselves. Yet, how many things are covering that frequency, that energy of prosperity? I'm sure you guys can think of a lot, right? It's all of the things that you've been told, all of those beliefs, all of those programs, those conditions, those judgments, those stories, those identities, all of the things we've gathered along the way that have covered our natural state, which is prosperous, which is abundant, which is whole. And so the idea is that we're actually stripping back and peeling away all of those things. We're not adding more. There's a lot of classes that are going to talk about doing this and that, like I said in the beginning, and that's fine. But until you can actually have a clear, relaxed, attuned, coherent nervous system, and the only way to do that is to clear away all of the gunk and junk that has been in the way of that core frequency of prosperity. That is you. Okay. So now we're going to talk about prosperity versus wealth. And this is a very key subject as it pertains to the gene keys. And I really love this. And I'm going to read a couple passages for you from the gene keys before we get into talking about what the gene keys are and how to use them as it pertains to your pearl sequence. So prosperity in itself is an entirely different phenomenon than wealth. Here's some key words. Prosperity equals flow, freedom, balance, simplicity, trust. Wealth equals stagnation, constriction, accumulation, complexity, insecurity. Now, what I've said here and what I truly believe is that societally we have been anchored, and whether that is intentionally or unintentionally, in this shadow frequency of wealth, which by definition is really truly coming from a place of inadequacy and insecurity. And so what do? We stockpile, we hoard all of our resources because we don't feel safe within our nervous system. We do not feel safe within ourselves. And so we use money. And again, prosperity, like we talked about, equals all of the different aspects of our life, but we're going to dial this into just the conversation of money for a moment. When we're talking about wealth, we stockpile all of this money because it helps us to feel safe, but that is just a false illusion of safety. There's no amount of money that is going to make you feel safe. It doesn't matter if you have $1 billion. How many times have you heard the billionaire say, I've reached this point, I have all this money, but I still feel unworthy within myself. I still feel like I'm living in scarcity or in lack or in fear. This is a common story that we see time and time again. You don't have to go far to find these stories. They're all around us. And so that tells us that that is where we're creating wealth from this place of inadequacy or insecurity. And so what we truly need to do if we want to feel and experience what prosperity truly is to anchor ourselves into what prosperity means, which is flow, freedom, balance, simplicity, and trust. And we're going to break this down further as we go deeper today. But in its simplest essence, to prosper means to have everything you need when you need it. Whatever your dharma, life will arrange you for you to have enough. At times that may be very little, and at other times that may be very large amounts. So think about that. Can you relax into that statement? Can you relax into that, knowing that life is deeply, deeply intelligent and that you have at all times whatever you need? It may reflect in your bank account as $1 for that one day. It may reflect as that $1 million for that one day, but you will always have exactly what you need. How many times have you doubted yourself? Have you doubted life? You really needed to pay that bill. You really needed to pay that rent. You really needed to do this thing. And you don't know where the money's going to come from. But all of a sudden, this money just appears. And it might be the exact amount you need when you need it. I can raise my hand to that. Who else has had that experience? There's been so many times in my life where this has proven to be the case, where I've doubted, I've been worrying, I've been anchored in stress and fear. And all I can think about is where's the money going to come from? Then all of a sudden, this money just decides to show up, and I have exactly what I need. It may not feel good in my nervous system because I want more, because the ego Chris wants to have millions of dollars so he doesn't have to worry about that bill or worry about that. And that's okay to desire that. It's okay to have that. But is that rooted in a place of insecurity? That's rooted in a place of distrust where I'm not trusting that I'm not going to be taken care of. But how can I not be? Because life takes care of itself. Life in itself is prosperous. So I'm seeing the chat blow up here. I'm going to read through here a little bit. Sounds familiar. The concepts of equity, getting what you need versus, yep. That's really interesting. As though I don't have much money, I do feel prosperous and relaxed. Beautiful, Liliana. Doubt is a killer. Killed me for 13 years. Yes. Yes. Happened to me so many times this year. Yep. Yep. So we're going to dive deeper into this in a moment here. Before we do so, I'm going to read a passage from the Gene Keys. And this is one from one of my favorite keys. This is Gene Key 48, happens to be my radiance. The shadow is inadequacy, the gift is resourcefulness, and the city is wisdom. Every human being is designed to prosper because life itself is prosperous. Prosperity is an entirely different phenomenon from wealth. To prosper, all a human being needs is a little bit more than enough, whereas to be wealthy means to have a lot more than enough. Wealth, by this definition, is formed out of the need for security, which has already been shown to be an illusion and is rooted in the fear of the shadow frequency of inadequacy. Whatever your destiny, life will arrange for you to have a little bit more or a lot more than you need. For some, this means very little. For others, this means very large amounts because different humans live out different human myths. One can tell when a person is fulfilled in life because they find exactly the support they need when they need it, rather than stockpiling in order to try to create false security. Another vital aspect of the gift of resourcefulness is its integrative power. All of your inner talents, gifts, and resources are ultimately designed with an inbuilt programming agenda to offer service to the whole. In this sense, all true talent is holistic. Your inner well exists only to serve others. It is they who come and throw the bucket down into your well and draw out your resources. Metaphorically, all human beings are designed to slake each other's thirsts, which means that you have to interact honestly and selflessly in order to prosper. In serving the whole, you serve yourself in the most efficient way possible. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. This is talking about the energy of service. And we're going to dive deeper into this later on. But when you are in service to life, when you are using your gifts, when you're using your talents and your abilities to serve others, to add value to other people's lives, you cannot not prosper because that is the nature of prosperity. It is giving, it is receiving, it is that flow, that inflow, that outflow. It's in constant motion, just like the infinity symbol. It's in constant motion. There's been times, and I'm going to tell you another before we move on to the money story and go a little deeper. There's been so many times where I've hoarded my resources, my money, because I'm scared to, if I were to pay this bill or to do this thing, that I wouldn't have more in return. And so I got myself into large amounts of debt. And this ultimately created more insecurity, guilt, and shame within my nervous system. But what I began to find is anytime a bill would come, I would appreciate that bill. I would pay that bill and I would lighten my load. And then, boom, client comes. Boom, this person pays this bill for their services that I'm offering, whatever it might be. All of that is in the flow, right? It's not constrictive energy. And constriction is going to kink that hose, and that flow is not going to happen. Again, you've heard all of these things before, but this needs to be a felt experience, which we're going to go into later on. I want to bring you into a felt experience of this. All right, so now we'll get into the money topic for a moment. This is an important topic because obviously money is what is circulated around this world we live in, and therefore we need it to not only survive, but also to have experiences and thrive. So money is a beautiful thing, and that's why I am definitely not one of those people that is going to say, don't look at money, right? There's so many people, there's so many wounds within the spiritual and personal development community around money. And it really creates more constriction. I am all about having money. I'm all about sharing money. I'm all about that experience of that symbol of prosperity. But with when it comes to money, we've experienced many different stories, the trauma, the wounding that has been passed down from our parents, from society. We all have been injected with the money virus. All of us. There's not one person that has escaped. I've worked with hundreds, with thousands of people at this point, and there's not one person that does not have some level of limitation, of lack, of scarcity, of fear around money. It's because it has been so heavily programmed into our psyches. And there is a part of me that does believe that a lot of this is intentional. Look at the way the world is structured. You have a very small percentage of people that hold all of those resources as it pertains to money, and the rest of the people that are struggling day to day. So there definitely is a system that is corrupt, that is only out for this small percentage. However, we don't want to make that our story because if we do, we are buying into the fear and therefore keeping ourselves locked in. It doesn't mean that this is not happening, right? We all have had this experience. We see it on the world stage. But the more we put attention into that, the more fear we're putting out into that, and therefore creating a distorted frequency within us. But what can we do? What is the only thing we can do? We can take responsibility for our own inner selves and our own inner energy, and we can free ourselves from the shackles that have kept us hostage, that have kept us bound to these limitations. And so I want you to examine some of the beliefs that you hold. Just put a few in the chat. What are some of the beliefs that you hold around money? What are some of the stories that you've been told? If I don't have enough, I'm a failure. Boom. It's hard to get more money. Ooh. Have to give up time to get it. Work hard to earn. Ooh, I don't know how to manage my money efficiently. I have to get it all figured out before it will flow. Ooh, yes, Sandy, thank you. It's scary to not have enough of it. Money causes chaos, lack creates stress, money is evil. It's hard. Wow, this is coming quick. It's hard to come by. It has to be earned. It doesn't grow on trees. It's a reflection of my worth. There's only so much to go around. Fear of not getting enough. Money doesn't grow on trees. Yes, you guys hustle, hustle, hustle. Yes. Boom. With more money comes responsibility that make life more complicated and stressful. You guys are great. You're nailing all of it. So all of these, right? Like how many of us have had similar stories, right? I guarantee like how many of you guys can relate to what's being shared in the chat? I'm sure a lot of you can. So we've all been imbued with all of this energy of lack and scarcity and fear around money. And what does this do? This just creates this negative perception of money when money is nothing but a symbol that we've used. In the past, we may have traded rocks, coins. We've traded crystals, we've traded feathers. Those were all just symbols of value that we used to have an exchange. I'm giving you this service, I'm providing my gifts, and I'm receiving this in return. Beautiful. And that's all money is. It's a neutral energy. It's not positive or negative, but it is because of our own programming that we've created this monster of as this energy. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is our own level of worth. That's all it comes down to. Because on top of all of this, we've had certain wounds and traumas that we've experienced: rejection, abandonment, betrayal, all of these things that have happened in our lives through our familial circumstances, through our friends, through all relationships, that has created and poked and provoked this unworthiness within us that we do not feel inherently worthy inside. And this level of unworth is reflected in every aspect of our life. In the amount of money you may have, in our relationships, in our work. How many of us find ourselves self-sabotaging, people pleasing, limiting ourselves? And it all comes back to this wound of unworthiness. But let's contemplate for a minute. Let's just sit for a minute and feel into that. You are one in 8 billion plus people in the world. You are incredibly unique. You came to this earthly experience with none of these attachments, with none of these stories, with none of these beliefs. You came here as this almighty, powerful fucking soul. But you came down to this earth school, and you learned all of these things. And so right now, this is all about unlearning. This is about unplugging. This is about taking out all of the things that we've learned and putting them aside to return back to that true state of prosperity that is who we are. Prosperity is who I am. Feel into that. Prosperity is who I am. I am nothing but prosperity. And these are things you may have heard before, but I want this to be an experience today. And we're going to go deeper into what that experience feels and how you can truly embody that. Because once you embody that, you are untouchable. There's nothing else that is going to constrict you any longer when you're anchored in that sense of power. So at the end of the day, it's about dropping our mental tightness around money and allowing ourselves to fall into love, gratitude, trust, receptivity, and surrender. So these are sort of these core elements that I've identified, which we're going to go deeper into later on in the meditation. Love, gratitude, trust, receptivity, and surrender. Those frequencies, when we really truly experience those internally, all of the other stuff begins to drop away. Trust is a key one, and we're going to dive deeper into that. All right. So this is a very brief overview of the gene keys. I'm not going super deep. There's a whole nother masterclass I have on my YouTube channel called Soul Quest. There's a whole gene keys overview on my website. You can read about the gene keys, all of that. So I'm gonna breeze over this, but it's an important part to cover for those of you that are new to the gene keys. In the chat, just put new if you're new to the gene keys. I'm just curious to know how many people here have never interacted with the gene keys. New, 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 beautiful. New, new. Okay. Lots of you. Beautiful. And I know some of you in here that aren't because you're in some of my programs and courses. So, um, you know, just give me a moment here while I go over this. Okay, so I have been working with the system of the gene keys for the past 7 years. So, for me, I've dove into many different tools and systems, practices, all of these different things that are available on this human experience within this personal development realm. I have found no better tool for self-awareness, for self-discovery, for self-inquiry, for self-mastery than the gene keys. And aside from that, breath work. Breath work and the gene keys actually pair well together, and I'm going to talk about that deeper later on and why that is so. The gene keys came to me about 7, 8 years ago from a friend who gave me the book. I looked at the book, this book right here, which is all taped up. This has been carried around for many years now. Um, this book was given to me by a friend and gifted to me. And from that point, I was like hooked. I knew in my on a cellular level, this is what I needed, right? I didn't know what it was, but this is what I needed. And so I started to dive deep into this system, which I'm going to share with you now. And it's changed my life forever. I'm not going to read everything verbatim, but essentially the Gene Keys is a code book for consciousness expansion. So this is a system that was created by a man named Richard Rudd. And Richard channeled this text over 7 years after having a very powerful awakening experience. And the idea here is that it unites the 64 archetypes of the Chinese I Ching, which is an ancient wisdom text, with your personal astrological makeup. And when you combine these two together, you get this output, this blueprint, this roadmap that is essentially a map of your soul that shares with you who you are and why you're here. And these are questions we all ask on the path, right? When we begin our awakening journey. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? We all want to know these things. And so the Gene Keys helps you to answer these questions through the art of contemplation. And so the idea is that within your DNA, within your genetic code, there are these 64 archetypes that are imprinted within you. We all share all 64 archetypes. And within these archetypes are these different frequencies. There's a shadow frequency, which we'll get into, a gift frequency, and a acidic frequency, the highest emanation of this archetype or this key. Again, we have all 64 keys within us, and they express differently in and through us, depending upon our human dharma. But with your Gene Keys profile that I actually asked you to look at, you have these spheres and you have these 11 keys imprinted within them. Now, within these 11 keys, these are all what you came here to express. And these keys have a massive, massive imprint on your life because when we break it down, consciousness is influencing our reality. So, what does that mean? Our external reality is created from our innermost state of consciousness. Therefore, if we dive deep into the realm, the science of epigenetics, we look at our DNA. Our DNA is being expressed through these different shadow frequencies, through these gift frequencies or acidic frequencies, which we'll get into. And so, there is no mistake you chose the family you chose. There is no mistake you chose the path you chose. This is all predetermined, and we got balloons to celebrate on the screen. Beautiful. So this is all predetermined, meaning that based on your DNA, you are having the experiences you're having externally. This means the trauma you've experienced, the wounding you've experienced throughout your life. That has all been predetermined so to help you grow and evolve. And as you begin to tap into this body of work, you begin to transmute these lower states that are perhaps what we call shadows into your gifts. So your challenges become your greatest gifts. And so nobody here is a victim to life. We are not a victim of circumstance. And that's a hard pill for many people to swallow. We are not a victim of circumstance. Life is literally happening through you, through your very genetic code, through your DNA. And so by taking responsibility for that, like this wisdom teachings, this system, it gives you the roadmap to be able to do so. So that's why I find it to be extremely profound. And I see this to be one of those systems that's going to be around for thousands of years, right? Like these are like future teachings that have come to assist humanity in the awakening process now. And with the level of awareness that you all have that are on this call, you felt called to this for one way or another. Your soul came here and presented you this material. There's no mistake. But not everybody is ready for these teachings yet because they go very deep. So Few things here. You have your full profile. You have these three sequences in your profile. And again, I go much deeper into this on my other masterclass, but you have your activation sequence, which is these first four spheres, your life's work, your evolution, your radiance, and your purpose. This is all about helping you discover your higher purpose and activate your creative genius in life. You have the red spheres up the middle, which is called your Venus sequence. And this is all about opening your heart in relationships and healing your core wounds from 0 to 21, opening your heart to life. So it's by discovering your purpose, opening your heart, you can begin to liberate your prosperity, which is this pearl sequence, which we're going to talk about deeper today. In the pearl sequence, this is all about liberating prosperity in all aspects of your life: business, relationships, money, everything. And this is all about the new paradigm of business and stepping into your true gifts and what you came here to share with the world, how you came here to serve the world. All of that is in the Pearl sequence, which we'll go over a little bit more. I realized some of these words got cut out when I cut out this image, and some of the words got cut out, but that's okay. So there's one of 64 gene keys that will be placed within all of these different spheres within your profile. And there's one of 6 lines that are within these spheres. Now, the gene key itself, it has 3 frequencies, as I mentioned: a shadow, a gift, and a city. The shadow can be equated to, like, in shamanic terms, the lower world. This is where you're still playing the victim, where you still have unconscious level of fear within you. We all have shadows. Nobody's escaping that. Then you have the middle world, which is your gifts. This is where you're really truly meant to serve from and express and embody. And then you have your city, which is the highest potential or emanation of that gene key, of that archetype that may or may not be expressed in your lifetime. And so the idea with the gene keys in its simplest form is to work with your shadows, because your shadows become your gifts. And so it's plunging yourself into the depth of the darkness within you, into your fears, so that you can begin to rise up and become a more expansive human being that is really, really, truly living your dharma and your purpose. The line numbers are very important. We're going to get into a few of those later on. The line numbers help to really bring together the story of that gene key. These are all also based on archetypes, but they weave together with your gene keys to create this full picture, this full spectrum of who you are. So if you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm going to monitor that. Pamela asks, is the city attainable? It's not. So the idea with the gene keys is not about attaining the city. The citic emanation or frequency will happen naturally if it's meant to express through you. I always relate the city to ascended masters. We look at Buddha, Christ, these ascended masters that have walked this planet. They would have been existing in acidic frequency and therefore changing the entire collective landscape of this planet, because we are all connected. We are not separate. So when we attain a high frequency, that is especially felt by all those within this collective field. So I can't say anybody right now that I know. I mean, if you have like awakening moments or heightened states, you would be able to potentially touch those acidic frequencies, but it's not a sustained type of experience, as far as I know and have in, pertaining to my own life and what I've experienced. Yeah, so how it relates to the I Ching. Yeah, so the I Ching is based on these hexagrams and these lines. So a lot of the lines that we see within the gene keys are directly correlated with the I Ching. And then the outer circumference of your profile, you have, this is a bad picture because it's blurry, but these are all hexagrams here. And so this is all related, and woven into how you experience your specific keys and line numbers within the gene keys. And it's woven together with your astrology to give you this output. Again, I go deeper into that on other teachings. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a second, check the time. Okay, we still got plenty of time. How are you guys feeling? How is this landing for you? Pamela asks, is it suggested to focus on the shadow to understand how they play out in our life toward yes. So the idea here is that with the gene keys, we we contemplate, and we'll talk about the art of contemplation. We contemplate how these shadows have shown up in every aspect of our life, and therefore, through the contemplation of that, we begin to shift our awareness, which rises us into the gift state. And we ride into the shadows. We dip in and out. It's not an experience where like, oh, that shadow's gone forever. It's we just don't have maybe that deep plunge that we used to where we begin to ride the waves a little bit more with some balance and harmony rather than diving deep and coming back to the surface and then diving back again. It's more of an even flow that begins to happen. Okay, I resonate with everything you're saying. It's piquing my interest. Great. Awesome. Just taking the pulse on everybody where you're at. So now that we have a Gene Keys overview, I'm going to drive it back to the conversation of prosperity here. Okay. So logistic question, how the workshop's meant to go for 90 minutes. We may go just over that because there is a lot of information to cover here, and I want to make sure you guys leave with clarity by the end of it. So if you have to leave, there will be a recording, but I highly recommend staying if you can. I'm not going to try to go too much past the 90-minute mark. Okay. So because we just gave an overview of the gene keys, I want to go into the pearl sequence, which is that triangle at the top, right? This triangle here. This is what we're going to be talking about because this is the conversation around prosperity. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of this, then I'm going to go into the core wounds as it pertains to how you may be expressing or undermining your prosperity or expressing your prosperity. So there's four keys here of the pearl sequence, pretty much. So you have the core wound, which is part of the Venus sequence, but then turns into your vocation. So your core wound is the wound that was imprinted to you pre-birth while you're in your mother's womb. So nobody escapes the wound. We all have a core wound that's imprinted within us. And I'm going to go over what those are in a moment because this wound, when you begin to work with it and you begin to transmute it, transform, and alchemize it, it becomes a gift. And therefore, you liberate greater amounts of prosperity in your life. So your core wound turns into your vocation meaning your greatest gift that you're here to have or here to share. So what I want you to do is on your profile, you're going to look at this key right here. See where my cursor is? Right here. You're going to see a gene key and you're going to see a line number. Okay. So in the chat, you can put your gene key and you can put your line number right here. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit more after I go over the rest of these. Then we have our culture. So this is also a key that blocks us from manifesting greater prosperity. We won't cover this as much in this class. I want to cover more of the wound, but this is also a very important key. And this is how we align with people, with opportunities, with resources in our lives, how we're here to serve, who it is we're here to serve. This is all about the culture. The brand is all about communicating your authenticity, your unique essence to the world. When you are anchored in your brand, you naturally call forth greater prosperity because you're speaking from a place of truth. And therefore, that truth is a resonance for all those that you're meant to serve and bring into your life. And then lastly, you have the pearl. And this is the last key of the pearl sequence and the last key of the entire Gene Keys profile. And this is that final blossoming of your potential, where constriction is no longer, and you become that gift to the world, that you are sharing from that place of clarity. You are sharing from that place of fulfillment. And it brings you into the essential of life. And oftentimes this is rooted in simplicity. So you have your core wound, you have your vocation, your culture, your brand, and your pearl. All of this mixes together to liberate your prosperity in your life. This sequence, I'm going to tell you a quick story before we move into the core wounds, which is why we're here, because this is where you can really see how it is that you're blocking the flow of prosperity in your life. So when I first went through this sequence many years ago, I've gone through all of the Gene Key sequences many times. I've gone through the guides program. So I have been doing this work for a while. continuing to do so. I'm forever a student. But the first time I went through the prosperity sequence after I've gone through the other sequences, I had a massive revelation. At that time, I was still kind of in between what I'm doing now and my old life of working my corporate job. And there was a lot of tension that I was feeling within myself. But I began to realize the simplicity of prosperity. And I began to embody what it means to be prosperous within myself and the feeling of prosperity that it brought, as well as the gifts that I came here to share. And all of this began to culminate within me over the series of several months. And after I'd gone through this program, I was presented with a massive opportunity, one in which has later manifested into what I have built in Beats and Breath and the app and the investment we received and all of the beautiful things that have come to transpire. But there was a series of things that began to happen as I began to open myself up to what it means to be prosperous and prosperity in my own life. And all of these people began to basically vibrate into my reality, into my life, that have all played a massive role in where I am at today. Business partners specifically. Johnny, who is my business partner in Beats and Breath, came in the exact time I finished this Pearl sequence. My business partner and what I do with masculine mastery and my men's work came in at the exact same time Johnny came in. And then later moving into these further synchronicities with these other projects I'm now collaborating on, my Breathe with Cannabis project with Ryan and Aaron. All of these people began to come into my life as a result of going through this. And what you begin to realize is that there are specific souls that you came here to collaborate with, because the new paradigm of business is about collaboration. The new paradigm of prosperity is all about collaboration. And all of these things began to take off. And now, several years later, I'm in a completely different position as a result of having met some of these people. So this is just a small portion of what you can expect by going through this. So you guys are in the chat. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to look at these in just a moment, but let's get into what's blocking your prosperity, because I think this is why you're really here. So on your profile in that left corner I shared with you where you're sharing your gene keys and that line number is not going to be indicative of what I'm sharing here, because that's all about sharing the lines of your vocation. But behind the scenes, those lines are operating as your core wound, which we cover in the Venus sequence as well as the first part of the Pearl sequence, because they become your vocation. But looking at the core wounds, there's 6 core wounds: repression, denial, shame, rejection, guilt, and separation. These are the 6 core wounds. You can't have any of the other wounds. This is it. You have one of 6 lines. So whatever line number you put in the chat, look at that. Okay. So I see a mix of different people here. You have 2s, 5s, 1s, 5s, 1s, 5s, 6s, 2, 5, 3s. Okay. So whatever line number you put in there, that dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is your core wound. Okay, so these go much deeper, but this is just a quick overview. So the first one, repression. This is hiding unexpressed fear within yourself, seeking external validation, and oftentimes rooted in a deep sense of unworthiness, which is often tied in trying to escape that unworthiness through your bank account, through your job, through your status, through your identity, whatever it might be. External things, materials. The line 1 will do that a lot. Now, we will all do this because again, all these archetypes are within us, but whatever line it is might be more expressive for you. Number 2, denial. This often feels like a deep sense of lack, trying to control the flow, comparison, blaming and projecting fears onto others, often manifesting as anger, not taking responsibility for its actions. Line 3, shame. Hiding behind unhealthy addictive spending habits to create inner security, workaholic tendencies to try to find success. This will be that person that feels a lot of shame and carries a lot of heaviness around money. Although it may spend a lot, it then feels guilty or feels shameful of doing so. And it will also work hard, hustle, grind, whatever you want to put to that. And that in itself will create a lot of constriction within the body temple and within oneself. And this will also often be the person that abandons their family to work harder because they think that by doing so, they're serving their family, but they're actually just burning themselves out in their nervous system. Line four is rejection, rejecting oneself and rejecting others, or seeking attention and influence from others, putting others' needs ahead of their own, lack of boundaries, inauthentic, hoarding resources to feel safe, freezing of the heart. The core wound of rejection, line four. Line five, guilt, desires power to control and rule, manipulative, compromising their own truth, complicated relationships, and so forth. And line six, separation, hypersensitive nervous system, feels different and misunderstood, tendency to isolate and cut oneself off from its own source and from other people. So I want you to look at that line you put in there and look at what we've shared here. What resonates for you? Does this resonate? This is literally what undermines your manifestation of prosperity. Of course, the beliefs, the stories, the things that we talked about before as it pertains to money, that has a lot to do with it. But this at the core is what's operating within your genetic code. So in the chat, questions, comments, is this resonating with you? So as we go into the Gene Keys work, yeah, faith, all of them do. Exactly. Yeah. This again, we have the tendency to lean all these ways and we do, but there is that sacred core wound that does sit within us based on that line number, which is the one we work on when we do this Gene Keys work. Yeah, addictive spending habits, working hard. There was a time that I worked three jobs, to save money, never did. Yep. Goes along with the message I've been getting to surrender to control. Yep. Totally resonates. Beautiful. Yeah. So, guys, this is really powerful work. When you begin to do this and you begin to contemplate and go into this, a massive expansion begins to happen when you're doing this work. And I can promise you the tidal wave of prosperity that you feel and experience in life as a result of going through these core wounds is beyond words. So the higher keynote here, you see these second words: honesty, ease, joy, gentleness, forgiveness, and care. These are the higher keynotes of having worked through these core wounds. We become a more honest individual with ourselves, with others, with money, with our resources. We become more in integrity is another way to say that. We become more at ease within ourselves. So we're feeling into that flow, that second line. Life becomes easier. Easy is right. Line three, joy begins to emanate from us. We begin to have this beautiful sense of humor and we live life in a light-hearted way. Joy. Line four, gentleness. Gentleness towards ourselves, gentleness towards life. We don't need to be so hard on ourselves. We can bring that deeper level of compassion and gentleness to us. Line five, forgiveness, moving out of guilt and into a place of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves of all the ways we've manipulated others, we've manipulated ourselves, we've compromised our soul and our truth, forgiving ourselves. And line six, care, that deep level of self-care, including ourselves with others, including ourselves in our relationships, in all aspects of life. Amy, what if you don't know your exact time of birth here? You can kind of create like four different profiles, create like an early morning one, late morning one, early afternoon, late afternoon, evening, and then you can figure out what resonates. Time is very important because it's the placement of the planets. This wound was imprinted 88 days before your birth. Yeah, so it's following your intuition, like Ashley said.
If you don't
So I'm going to share this. I'm going to reshare my screen with sound. And this is just a simple message from Richard Rudd. And this is what is going to bring the rest of what we're sharing today into coherence. Okay. So really listen to this. I'm going to share my computer. Hopefully, you guys can hear this.
don't have that core feeling of self-worth, you will never feel safe in this body, in this world. And so it's the foundation of prosperity is actually our breathing. That's what it is. It's like when you come to the pearl, you'll realize that the truths that you hear are very, very simple. They're written in plain sight. So knowing and understanding and following the nature and the rhythm of one's breath is what brings you deep down to a feeling of security inside your body, because you come into your center and that's a place where nothing can shake you, because in your core center you're actually you're an eternal being, and you know that and you feel that, and therefore you're not even afraid of death at some deep level. And every time we leave our center, then we enter out into the field of feeling less stable and less secure and less sure. And so we try and find that stability outside ourselves in lots of different ways. And one of the classic ways we do that is through trying to get money to feel safe.
So profound words there, and this is why, I've had a lot of conversations with Richard. I know him personally. He's come into some of my groups, and why I resonate so deeply with these teachings, because before I found Gene Keys, I found the breath. And the breath has supported me deeply in these teachings and integrating together, because the breath on a pure physical level is that place, that anchor where you can move into your center, as Richard was saying. And to breathe is to prosper, to be alive. And so, on a deeper level, the breath actually works hand in hand with these gene keys to unlock them. So what I do, and what I'm really share in all of my group experiences, is why we breathe alongside the contemplation of our gene keys is because we can unlock these sequences, these codon rings within us, and heal those deeper wounds, those shadows that are embedded within us. And the breath acts metaphysically as this catalyst, because as we breathe up our cerebral spinal fluid, and that fluid actually carries these light particles and codons, which I explained on a podcast I just did with Alex Zeck called "The Breath Shall Set You Free." If you want to listen to it, carries up these light codons, and it activates the different aspects of ourselves, including the pineal gland. And it also, again, turns on those genetic codes that may be latent, that scientists have said, oh, this is junk DNA. It's not really junk DNA. It is just misunderstood. It can't be explained from science. But the breath is the foundation of all. And most importantly, because the breath anchors you into a place of calm and relaxation. And that is the foundation to build upon for any self or spiritual development. You need to be relaxed, because relaxation leads to connection. Connection leads to presence. Presence leads to you tapping in to your higher self, into your intuition, into your soul knowing, and then serving the world from that place of your gifts. So, in that same sphere I shared with you, we just talked about the line there. Now we talk about the three frequencies: the shadow, the gift, and the city. You may not understand it from on the piece of paper, because these words aren't to be taken literally, but just tapping into that word that's in your gift, the gift of your vocation. What is that gift? Put it in the chat. initiative, adventure, expansion, transparency, freshness, revolution, sensitivity, inspiration, beautiful, healing, discrimination, artfulness, guidance, intuition, creativity, simplicity. What is that gift in the middle? Dynamism, 39. Love it. Inspiration. Beautiful, guys. So listen, this is like you're reading a word, okay? And this is not to be mentally conceptualized. This is to be felt. So when you go into the contemplation, when you have the Gene Keys book, when you go through the sequences, when you go through the program and do all of the things, which I'll share with you a way to do that, you begin to liberate this gift. And this gift is your vocation. This is what you have come to share with the world by expressing it first and foremost, by being it internally, by embodying it. And then from there, sharing it through whatever role you play in life. It doesn't really matter what role, but how is this gift manifesting through the role that you're playing? And we're all meant to serve the collective from this role, from this gift. And each of you have a higher purpose that you come here to express. And yes, Elizabeth, this gift is in the vocational sphere of your Gene Keys profile. You don't have to have it right now, but I would recommend going back and watching
If
this.
you don't have,
With that being said, here's some questions to contemplate here. So, alongside working with your Gene Keys profile, alongside working with the Pearl sequence and all of that, asking yourself these questions honestly, openly. What do I love to do? Who do I love doing it with? How and what ways do I communicate and share my authentic self? How can I be of the greatest service to the whole? How can I anchor deeper into a place of love, gratitude, trust, receptivity, and surrender? You answer these questions, specifically the fourth question, how can I be of the greatest service to the whole? If you did nothing else after today and just contemplated that question, really sat with that question without even opening the Gene Keys book, put the Gene Keys aside for a second. If you just ask yourself that question and bring that into your meditation for weeks, for days, the answers will begin to come. And when you begin to serve the whole from that place of excitement, from that place of passion, from using your gifts that you came here to share, you will liberate true prosperity in your life. All alongside just relaxing yourself, just breathing and knowing that you are prosperous because life in itself is prosperous. There's nothing you have to worry about because life takes care of itself. And now that we have about 15 or so minutes, I want to take you into a short meditation. Normally, this is when I would drop you into a breathwork experience, but because we indicated 90 minutes, I'm going to drop you into a short breathing meditation, about a 10-minute meditation. We'll come back. We'll integrate. We'll share a few things. We may go a few minutes over. So if you can stay, I highly recommend it because this is where all of the magic begins to happen. And then we'll be maybe just about 10 minutes over and we'll leave you guys to go on your way. So if you have a pair of headphones, grab a pair of headphones. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go into just a brief meditation on prosperity. And I really want you to just to sit, find a comfortable place, and we'll go from there. Just finding yourself in a relaxed, comfortable position. Spine straight. Just closing down your eyes. And together, we'll begin to attune, beginning this meditation with our breath. Taking a deep, steady inhale through our nose. Hold at the top. And exhale, release to the bottom. Again, breathing in to the top. And slow, steady exhale, release to the bottom. One more deep inhale, breathing all the way in. And release, exhale all the way out. And just continuing to circulate your breath, your breathing. With every inhale, with every exhale, coming into a place of balance, to a place of coherence and harmony, allowing the belly to soften and the heart to open. And as you breathe, as you flow, I want you to tune into the subtle sensations within your body field. What do you feel? What do you perceive? And just simply noticing without judging. Just simply observing without creating any stories. If you feel any tension, constriction, tightness, inquire. Ask. Feel. What is this constriction telling you? What is it signaling to you? Maybe it's unsafety, maybe it's fear. Whatever it is, just allow it to be for what it is in this moment. What emotions are present? wherever you may be tightly holding on, trying to control the flow of life. Wherever you may be striving or chasing anything outside of yourself. Just pause for a moment. Pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. And as you find that stillness, turning down the volume just a little bit, you may experience a deeper calling. An inner voice that is whispering, that is guiding you. Guiding you back home to that place of connection to your own inner resources, to your own inner gifts, to your own inner wisdom. To prosper is to breathe. To prosper is to be alive. To prosper is to serve. To prosper is to be fully who you are. There's nothing you have to do, but everything you need to be. And as you sink your breath to the flow, to the rhythm of life, trusting, surrendering into its intelligence, feeling into that place of gentleness, of ease, of joy, of gratitude, of honesty, of acceptance, of forgiveness. You naturally awaken and activate this prosperity that has always been within you. Receiving its fruits in every aspect of your life. Letting go of all worry, of all doubt, of all fear. That you are exactly where you need to be. Right here, right now. as you breathe, filling your body with all of these positive sensations, all of these vibrations that support you in your expansion, that support you in your creativity, that support you in being and doing what you love. And as you harness your own sacred gifts, as you harness your own creative energy, you share and serve the world. From that deep inner well, that inner well of love, of freedom, of peace. And just breathing here for a few more moments, feeling in to the appreciation of yourself, for the gratitude you have for being alive. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this gift we call life. Thank you for all of the prosperity, for all of the abundance, all of which is already inside of me, all of which is me. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for my body. Thank you for all of my relations. I am free. I am free. I am free. And when you're ready, you can come back into this space. Feeling renewed, feeling revived. How's everybody doing? How are you feeling? Thank you for embarking with me on this beautiful journey. In the chat, you can share how you're doing. Relaxed. Great. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. So this is to mean to be prosperous is to breathe, to be relaxed, to be in our true essence. Feeling free, feeling connected, peaceful and grateful, present in my body. Beautiful. Guys, it's really I love doing these classes because they really bring so much joy into my heart. This is my way of serving. I've done and continue to do this work on myself, and it just unravels in the most beautiful ways. And now I can share some of the tools that have really supported me authentically on my journey to support you. And, for me, there's no greater service. There's no greater excitement for me to do this. Like I wake up every single day just in such gratitude to be able to give back in these ways to expand humanity and continue to expand myself. So thank you for being here. And for those of you that want to take this deeper, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to share a very short opportunity with you. And it's so I have three programs. I have Pathway to Purpose, I have Pathway to Love, and now I have Pathway to Prosperity. And so, Pathway to Prosperity is what we talked about going through the Pearl sequence. So, my I used to have prerequisites. You need to go through Pathway to Purpose, Pathway to Love first, but overall, the Gene Keys is a holographic profile. So you can really start anywhere on your chart. So even if you're new to the Gene Keys, this is work that, again, I've done myself that has completely transformed my entire life experience. And I want to share it with you guys. So I'm starting my last Gene Keys group until I'll run my fall cohorts. I'm taking time to write my book. So this is my last cohort I'm launching for a while. It's called Pathway to Prosperity. It starts on July 22nd. And so we go through week by week into each of the aspects. We'll start with our core wound. We'll move into our vocation, into our culture. We'll have a week of integration. We'll move into the brand, into the pearl, and then into this last part called liberate. And all of this brings together this harmony around the pearl sequence of the gene key. So you'll be looking specifically at your personalized blueprint based on your gene keys profile. And as a group, we're going to be contemplating together week by week on live Zoom calls. You're going to get all of the material that you would need. Plus, you have a group setting, group chat, community, where you have accountability partners and really helps you bring through this wisdom. Now, you can ask anybody else on this call that has gone through my programs. The breakthroughs, the clarity are incredible. And I don't give that credit to myself. I give that credit to the Gene Keys for what this wisdom teachings can really, truly do for you in your life. They have changed my life by far the most out of any tool I've experienced aside from breathwork. And I also integrate breathwork and meditation into these programs because they are an opportunity to dive deeper into yourself and to really truly find that freedom, right? We talk about these things, prosperity, abundance, freedom, but what does it really mean? These experiences that you have in these groups will give you that experience firsthand directly. So what I've included here is audio contemplations of all the 64 gene keys you can listen to, weekly live teachings and breathwork sessions, group coaching and intuitive guidance, PDFs and workbooks. And then I also give you complimentary access to the Beats and Breath app. You get lifetime access to all the replays and discounted private sessions as well if you want to go deeper with me one-on-one. I offer private gene keys readings well, aside from these groups. So this in itself, I've done lots of these programs and they've all just yielded incredible results. So if you guys are interested in joining me, I'm going to put two links in the chat here. So there's one you can pay in full, you can save $50, or you can do a payment plan. Guys, for me, like, yeah, I'm trading my gifts and my time in, of course, we talk about currency and money, but I make these things so approachable that I don't want to exclude anybody from any of my programs. Like for me, yes, this is about me making a living, of course, but it's also about me serving and impacting as many people as possible. So I try to make this as approachable as possible. I have my other high-end one-on-one programs that I charge a lot more for, but these group programs I try to keep very reasonable so anybody can come in and do this work because for me, this is the work that really changes the world. You healing yourself on these levels and doing this work has a ripple effect beyond what you can even perceive or imagine in every single one of your relationships. So we start July 22nd. which is next Monday, and we alternate group calls every week. If you can't make a call, we have the replay portal that you get access to watch the replays. I got this fly flying around me, and yeah, it's just an exciting journey. And if there's anybody on the call that's been in my programs, you can attest to, how amazing these programs are, and the group synergy that we create together is incredible. So, with that being said, I would love to have you there. Love to see you there, Keon, brother. Thank you. And Brooke she's in one of my programs now, has done two of my programs. She's had an incredible breakthroughs, and it's really an honor to be here and serve in this way. So if you guys have questions, let me know. But again, this is a week enrollment. I haven't it opened up to my larger email list. Whoever you guys are on live right now are getting this, and then of course the replay. But I will be promoting it this week, and I'm only going to take 20 people into this program because I like to keep it intimate. So if you want to, be involved in it, click the links above. I'll send the replay of this after. If you guys have questions, you can reach out to me. Um, and I'm going to put my email right here. You guys obviously will have that from being and getting emails from me, but also on my Instagram, you can reach out to me as well. So, sending you guys so much love. Thank you for being here. I hope you received a lot out of this class, and there's much more to come, and I'm excited to share it all with you. Much love, positive energy. Peace.